Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought I'd find myself in this position. Not me. Not Jake. I always believed in trust, honesty, the kind of love that felt unshakable. My name is Jake, 35, and I thought my marriage to Clara, 33, was exactly that. We met in college, bonded over late-night coffee, shared playlists, and silly arguments about who loved the Beatles more. Clara had this energy about her. Bright, playful, impossible not to notice. She called herself my little spark, and I believed her. For the first few years, it was everything I could have wanted. We laughed constantly, planned our weekends like little adventures, and always found time for each other even when work got hectic. I didn't need fireworks every night. I just needed her presence. But somewhere along the 5th year, things began to shift. The spark dimmed. Subtle at first. A delayed reply to a text. A sigh when I leaned in to hug her. A sudden rush to leave when I tried to spend the evening together. I brushed it off, telling myself everyone gets tired, stressed, life gets in the way. Then the whispers started. Not literal whispers, but those uneasy feelings you try to ignore. Clara suddenly had extra hours at work, staying late at the office, going on mandatory business trips. I'd ask about her day, and she'd smile but never tell me much. I convinced myself I was being paranoid, overthinking. After all, she was smart, driven. She deserved her independence. But something changed last month. I came home unexpectedly one evening, earlier than she had said she'd be out. The apartment was dark, quiet, too quiet. My gut tightened, a familiar tension curling in my chest. I called her name, no response. Then I noticed it, the faint glow of a phone light under the bedroom door. I should have turned around, walked away, left it be. But I didn't. I stepped closer, hearing muffled laughter, a voice that wasn't mine. My heart sank. I froze, every instinct screaming to leave, but curiosity pinned me there. And then I heard it. Clara laughing, really laughing, with someone named Leo. My Clara, the woman I trusted more than anyone. Sharing jokes, smiles, the same warmth she used to save for me, with someone else. I stood there for a moment, quiet, trying to process the betrayal. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies, not a fight, not a scene of crashing glasses or yelling. Just subtle, insidious, the quiet destruction of trust. I remember sitting on the couch later, phone in hand, watching her texts flash by. Secret dinners, coded messages, apologies I'd never receive. The crushing weight of realization settled over me. Clara hadn't just lied about extra hours at work. She had been living a secret life, carefully curated, just outside my reach. For days, I struggled with what to do. Confrontation seemed impossible. How do you accuse someone of something they've hidden so well? I watched her, trying to find the Clara I knew, the playful, loving partner I had married. But every smile felt borrowed, every glance a lie. I started keeping my own journal, noting patterns, phone habits, little inconsistencies that pieced together the truth I feared to face. It wasn't easy, and there were nights I sat awake replaying our conversations, trying to convince myself I was wrong. Maybe Leo was just a coworker. Maybe I'd misinterpreted something. But my gut told me otherwise, and the evidence quietly stacked itself in front of me like a puzzle I didn't want to complete. Finally, the moment came when I could no longer ignore it. A weekend she claimed she had a work retreat. I knew she didn't. I left my apartment early, pretending to go to a friend's place, but really, I wanted to see the truth with my own eyes. My heart was pounding, fear and adrenaline mixing into a cold determination. And there she was, Clara, laughing, sitting close to Leo at a cafe she told me was a business networking lunch. I froze. The betrayal hit harder than I expected. Not just for the act itself, but for the months of deceit, the erosion of trust, the subtle ways she had managed to hide her actions while keeping me believing I was the one she loved. And in that moment, I realized I had two choices. Continue living in this lie, pretending nothing had changed, or expose the truth and reclaim the life I deserved. I knew I had to be careful, This wasn't about revenge or shouting, not yet. It was about clarity, truth, and finally stepping out of the fog of betrayal. I spent the next few days gathering everything: messages, receipts, social media traces, subtle things she thought I'd never notice. Each piece felt like a brick tearing down the wall she'd built around her secret. The confrontation wasn't dramatic, not like in the movies. It was deliberate, controlled. One evening, I asked Clara to sit with me in the living room. She smiled at me, a little nervous but still trying to keep her composure, unaware that I already knew everything. I took a deep breath. "Clara, I know about Leo." The room went silent. Her eyes widened, and I could see her pulse quicken. For the first time in months, the mask slipped. She opened her mouth, tried to deny it, to twist the story into something palatable. But I didn't let her speak. I calmly laid out the evidence, every detail I had discovered, every lie she had told me. I watched as her confident demeanor crumbled, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear. Not of losing me, not of the marriage itself, but of the truth finally being exposed. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, "Jake, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I shook my head. It wasn't about intentions anymore. It was about consequences. Years of lies, hidden dinners, secret texts. It had built a wall I couldn't climb over with apologies alone. "Clara," I said, "I loved you with everything I had, but I can't live in a house built on deceit. I need to step away before this destroys me entirely." Walking out that night, leaving her stunned silence behind, I felt a strange mixture of sorrow and relief. Sadness for the life we had built, now fractured beyond repair. Relief for finally lifting the heavy weight of doubt, suspicion, and unspoken betrayal off my shoulders. It was a bitter clarity, but clarity nonetheless. The days that followed weren't easy. Friends asked questions I didn't want to answer. Family offered advice I wasn't ready to take. But I started to rebuild. Mornings began with walks through the park near my apartment, letting the fresh air remind me that life was still moving forward. I spent evenings catching up on hobbies I'd neglected: painting, reading, even writing letters I never sent. Each small act of self-care became a brick in the foundation of my new life. Clara tried to reach out a few times. Calls, texts, messages filled with excuses and promises. But I remained silent. Not cruelly, but deliberately. I had learned the hard way that some bridges, once burned, aren't meant to be rebuilt. My peace depended on maintaining boundaries she had long ago disregarded. And yet, it wasn't all anger or bitterness. I realized through this that betrayal doesn't have to define your life. It's the response that matters. I chose honesty with myself, self-respect, and clarity. I let go of the anger that threatened to consume me. I allowed myself to grieve without letting grief turn into obsession. Each day, I reminded myself that love is not about possession or control. It's about trust, respect, and mutual care. Clara had broken that pact, and while I wished her well, I also knew I deserved a love that didn't feel like a constant battle. A few weeks later, I met someone entirely unexpected. Sophie, a colleague from a writing workshop I had joined to distract myself from the past. She was warm, genuine, with laughter that didn't feel forced. Slowly, carefully, I let myself enjoy her company. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't trying to replace Clara. I was simply allowing myself to rediscover connection, without fear or suspicion clouding every word or gesture. Looking back now, I can see the lessons etched into every painful moment. Trust must be earned and honored, and deception, no matter how small, has consequences. I can't change the past, but I can control how it shapes my future. Walking away from Clara didn't just expose her lies. It exposed my own strength, resilience, and capacity to prioritize my own well-being. I don't hate her. I don't need revenge. I simply learned to love myself enough to refuse living in a life dictated by someone else's deception. And in that clarity, I found a peace that I hadn't realized I'd been missing for years. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead you to the life you were meant to have all along. Walking away from Clara was the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the most liberating. And now, for the first time in years, I feel truly free.